Welcome to SFH Presents One More Podcast.
Welcome to SFH Presents One More Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Polk. Today I have with me Amberlei Oates. Hi, Amberlei.
Hey, Zach. How's it
Good to have you. Good to have you. Just a reminder, we're not medical professionals. That's important because somebody will come after us, I'm sure. But let's get to the question. Just start this thing off the right way. What does still fucking here mean to you?
You know, I think still fucking here means you've still got the grit. Like, the more I think about that question, right? It's like, I'm determined. I'm here. I'm going to fake it till I make it. And here we are. Because, like, life is one of those journeys. Like, you either figure it out or you just give up and then you're sad. Like, nobody wants to do that. So I think it's just trying. You're still motivated. And sometimes it's just like the little fire inside of you that keeps it going, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, I heard something years back. I've got two kids; they're 20 and 16, and another kid I raised as my son, my nephew, and he's like 27. And I was just, so everything about parenting is so damn difficult that I've when something comes through, you like perk up. And one of the things they said was that the number one thing you can teach your kids is grit.
Yeah, I think it's going to get them through everything because, like, even, like, bullies and childhood and school and all that stuff, like, they're going to happen. Like, you cannot, they're going to happen, but you just have to, like, bite your tongue, have some grit, know who you are, and when you grow up, you're going to have some employees you don't like working with sometimes too, right? And you're going to be like, okay, I got this. So, grit.
And especially in the world where we're so divided on everything. It's impossible, whether it's at work or just in public or whatever, to not interact with people who you're going to disagree with.
Absolutely. Facebook for 5 minutes.
yeah, for any amount of time. It's gotten so out of hand, man. It's like, and what I find out, or what I find in living through it, and I'm sure you would agree with this, is like, everybody on Facebook is divided. You feel this division between everyone. If you watch the news, or I'm not a news person, I'm a YouTube. There's people I follow that I trust, and I don't lean towards any side. I'm not right. I'm not left. I just try to make sense of things as much as possible, and I try to take information from both sides to formulate that opinion. But I find that when I go sit with people, it's way better than it seems. Most people are pretty okay to talk to and agreeable about things, even when they disagree. We're not nearly as divided in person as we are on the damn internet.
Isn't that funny? And like people too, like, so on the, behind a screen, you have something to protect you and your identity, a little anonymity, right? Like people say whatever they want and they don't think it's ever going to get back to them. That's why you have, trolls and things like that. It's pretty unfortunate, but it is interesting the way that people will act in person versus how they'll act, behind a screen.
Yeah, I wish that we could find, and it's something I've talked about a lot, is that everybody kind of, it's pretty normal, and I'm assuming to some level it's probably healthy to not be brutally honest all the time, every minute of your day. I am. I mean, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm just going to be that way, and I don't mean that in a harsh way. I'm generally a nice person, but like, I'm just honest. If something's bugging me, I'm going to say it. Or if something's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wish we could find that balance. I don't know what it is psychologically that makes someone be somewhat agreeable in person and then go home and want to troll and make people upset. And in the same respect, it's like, I wish people could just say what they feel in person more often than they do.
I know. I mean, I agree with you. I agree. Some people like the drama, though, unfortunately, Zach.
That makes sense.
They need the drama of them. But you can usually feel out, when you know these people, you can feel it out and you're just like, okay, keep you at arm's length.
Right. Yeah, I think for me, and I've chalked this up to just being a strange person, and I kind of live my life quite a bit different than most people. And it's hard for me to like deeply connect with people. So most people kind of fit into that, hey, when I see you, I'll be cool and we'll sit and have a beer or whatever. But like, my circle of people that I actually, and I assume most people probably are kind of in the same boat.
I mean, I hope so. I hope everyone's not, you don't have the attention span to give yourself to everybody. Only some people will take up like the majority of your feelings when it comes to relationships. So
Right.
I feel.
Yeah, that's very true. So let's get into some of your story before we get into the reason that I actually was looking for someone kind of in your field for several months.
Love it.
Just because I have a lot of and it might get a little racy and controversial, I suppose, when we start talking about the dating aspect of the world today. Uh, although, judging by what your platform is, you probably agree with me more than not, I would assume.
Probably. I'm here for it. Let's talk, Zach.
All right. So first couple of things, like generally, and I mean everyone that watches knows that we generally don't do a lot of research. The person that books you does. We don't, because we want it to be organic, and I want the conversation to be us sitting around the living room getting to know each other so that everybody can kind of get to know you at the same time. But you sent me a couple bullet points, starting early with like you were in foster care from 3 to 10 or something like that.
An orphanage. Yeah. So
Okay.
part of my story, and I don't talk about it all the time, but it is something that I've embraced more now that I've started a tech company,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't know where you're from, you don't know where you're going. And I think it's so powerful to have that background and not have become a statistic. And, maybe it was just the stubbornness of me, figuring it out, but it was just very much too, like, you want people to know your story so they can relate. And at some point, people ask me, if you had $1 million, what would you do? I would open an orphanage. Like, I think there's so much good to be done for kids in those situations. So I'm happy to talk about it because I think at some point it's going to help somebody.
Yeah, I love that. Uh, and just you kind of touched on something that I think is important that a lot of people forget is it's easy to have something in your past where people take that thing and kind of wear it as a badge and allow them to not succeed or allow them to even behave poorly because they went through a thing. It's important to see that there are people who go through some terrible shit that isn't ideal and still come out the other side, be a good person, be a successful person.
Absolutely. I mean, it's, my brother, my sister, and we were all in the orphanage together. And it's interesting even just seeing the way we've all dealt with it. Like my sister, she's a blazing badass. Like she just went, she just took it. And she's, basically owns her town that she lives in. And my brother, he kind of wears it, just kind of like, woe is me. So we always are butting heads because I'm like, Bubba, you got this. Like you are so much more than, what happened to you. So me and
Yeah.
him, same family. And I always think about it. I'm like, how do I give him just a little bit of that motivation that I found, so.
Yeah, and I talk about this a lot with my son. He's a very smart kid, and his mom, he's very similar to me in a lot of ways, and me and his mother are very different. Which it could be good, but ended up not being good. Like we're not together. But it's really hard. You look at something like that. I feel like that with my brothers and sisters. We were raised in the same house. We were raised with the same rules. The same amount of love, you know what I mean? The same things, but we couldn't be more different in a lot of ways. And I suppose like how much of that is just DNA, like people even born to the same parents see life through entirely different lenses.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's hard to, when you're looking from some lenses, when I've still deal with pretty deep depression. And for my ex, it's like, well, just be happy about stuff. Just go outside. And like, I'm like, man, if only. Like, you don't understand the amount of work I've put in for 2 decades, almost on a daily basis, to not feel like I make any ground. And I understand that through your lenses, who maybe you've never dealt with that, which I'm 100% sure she hasn't, because I've known her life. But like, uh, for, for your brother, it's just the lenses, like I'm sure it's frustrating, but it's also like, fuck, everybody takes, and it's like when we talk about trauma, with Ty, how do you talk to a guy who's missing 3 limbs and say my trauma with my marriage or something was terrible? And it's like, it's not a competition, and we all have such different DNA.
Yeah.
A peanut can kill somebody,
That's a good point. No, yeah. I absolutely believe my brother's going to get out of his funk. I do. I think it's going to take something different to motivate him. You know, that's probably what it is. So,
yeah. And finding that thing can be frustrating because he may not know. And you know,
and, you know, I mean, I think that's something too, some people don't talk about enough is men's mental health and just dealing with it. He won't see a counselor or a psychiatrist. He won't deal with it, but some men will. Some men will do the work, and some people will unpack with their friends, but some people just like bottle it up, and I think he's very much one of those people.
Yeah, it's you know, as a man who's dealing with mental health shit and decided to put it on Front Street and be vulnerable, we've had a lot of guests on that are willing to do that, but the amount of men that we talk about and we know that are in that same boat. Like that's kind of why we're doing this. Part of the reason why we're doing this is to say it's okay to be vulnerable and feel feelings. But culturally, for a long time, I mean, you go back to generations past, like the World War II generation, the Vietnam generation. Those dudes were all living with PTSD. It wasn't diagnosed. They were just doing it through a bottle and violence and other shit, pushing down all these feelings.
I know. It was a different time, that's for sure. And I mean, every time I see a veteran, I make sure to thank them. You know, just they went through something I can't imagine. Like I was in the Coast Guard, and they are not, you know, the front line of battle. I'll say, you know, we're dealing with the coast. I won't say our jobs are easy, but they're very different. So
Right.
like when I see someone in the Army or the Marines, I'm just like, holy moly.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's a whole other level of it too, is that men in general in our society, whether if you're a civilian, there's a push to be tough and a push to push it down and be a man, you know, rub some dirt on it. But when you're in the military, it's tenfold that for men and women, but especially men.
It is a little bit of both. Like I'll tell you, I remember being, you know, I mean, I had my daughter when I was 30, and I remember my boss being like, hey, a baby didn't come in your sea bag, figure it out. You know, like my husband and I, we were both operational, and we were both supposed to be deployed at the same time. And they were like, give your baby to your neighbor, figure it out. And I was like, in what world would that be okay? Like, what? So
that's crazy.
It is crazy. It is still a thing where it's like, deal with it, like get it on. And I understand operations. I understand
right.
all that. It can be interesting still.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're trying to, you know, keep the strongest military in the world, who has to go rush into a machine gun nest without question or whatever it might be, like you have to teach that. But like at the end of the day, like it takes the humanity out of people in a sense, which is fine when you're in battle, I suppose. But then when you come back home and you have to be a person again, it ends up really fucking a lot of people up.
No, I totally agree with that.
We see it again and again, and these guys that are deployed, where it's like they have this, you know, this role that's maybe more important than anything in the world. They're fighting for our for freedom. They're fighting for us to exist, and they have this brotherhood where their whole entire reason of being there is to protect their brother and be protected by their brother. And then they're out of the military, and they're like, well, now I have nothing, no purpose. I have no brotherhood. And you can see why people would fall apart from that.
It was very strange. So I retired 2 years ago. I retired two years ago, and that was the hardest part for me, was not having that camaraderie.
Yeah.
And even if it's just quarters or all hands or whatever it is, popping into someone's office and having coffee or morale day, like those were the little things that brought you all together. And I remember, you know, in the service, I was like, oh, this stuff is nonsense. Like, what a waste of my time. I could be doing something else right now. But it is probably the only thing I miss right now is like that brotherhood, you know?
Yeah. Sisterhood, brotherhood, personhood.
Like one big family, you know, you're all in the thick of it together. So
yeah, I mean, I think I hate that I end up talking about the same shit on an episode that's a week later, but I'm not a religious person. I've been introduced to it. You know, I'm familiar with it. You know, like I grew up on it, but I'm not. And one thing that they have very right is the sense of community within the church and so on. And it's something that I think a lot of people really miss, and it's a necessary part of being a happy human.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you're in the military, you have that community.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I just moved to like Texas, like this small town in Texas, and one of the first things I did when we got here, like I was like, we should find a church because we should find some community, you know.
Right.
League. I was like, where do I find groups of people who are already together, doing something that I enjoy doing? So
Yeah, it's probably smart. It's a shame that there's not more options for people that aren't involved in, don't want to be involved in the church, who could find a community. I'm sure there are. I mean, I'm not that kind of a hermit, so like I'm sure there's shit that I'm just not.
there's like meetup groups, you know, even like dating apps, you know, they're shifting from, you still have your swiping platforms, but you have a lot of companies that are emerging now that want to bring people together face to face. Like dinner with strangers, you know, whatever it is, dinner with Pokemon fans, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
Different interest groups basically. So
Yeah, it's and this is so, I'm just being honest. Like it seems so ridiculous that I can't imagine. It's hard for me to believe that the people that would choose to go to those things would be the kind of people I'd want to hang out with. And I think a lot of people probably feel that way.
I think you're right. I mean, it's hard to commit to going to sitting with a group of strangers, people you don't know, that you've never felt their vibe out before. You know, it's hard to do that. But some people do. You know, I remember one of the events we were like having in Minnesota, of all places. This girl came in and she was like, I didn't want to come. I sat in my car for 20 minutes watching everyone because I was scared to come do this, like having the face to face with strangers. I'm like, that's normal. That's okay. But, you know, sometimes there's always like, I feel like in a room full of strangers, you connect with someone. Whether it's a girl or a guy, you find your people really quickly. Because it's like, okay, the plane went down. I'm stuck on an island with these people. Who am I hanging out with? You know, that's kind of how I think about it when I'm anywhere, even if it's networking or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
That
like
makes sense.
comforting. Like even when you're a kid, you know, and you'd start your new grade, like second grade or kindergarten or whatever, and you go into a class, you need someone to make you feel comfortable. So
Yeah.
there's always a vibe.
Yeah, I can even remember going when I was married and we'd go to my in-laws, my wife's ex-wife's brother. I would just find him and go hide in the corner wherever he was. Like, you got your little spot, and you're like, yeah. No, it's weird too. I guess with being a performer, I played music all over the country for 30 years, and now I'm kind of doing that less, and I've been doing like hosting trivia and doing other gig work just for fun. And like I did that last night. I meet a lot of people, strangers included. Like last night, I met some people, and it's like it's almost like when I'm doing that though, I'm in work mode, so I'm like I'm an actor kind of. So it doesn't feel real as myself, even though I'm being myself. It's so strange.
Yeah, like you're playing a role. That makes
Right.
sense. Because you are the entertainment at that point, right? Like everyone
Right.
expects, woo. Even
Yeah.
if inside you're just like, don't talk to me.
Oh, last night was that night. I was just feeling kind of blah and feeling, I don't want to say down, but kind of. And then you start like searching your feelings, like, why am I feeling this way? And then you start like thinking of things that suck. And now you're really actually snowballing for no reason. And I'm just like, man, get me out of here. Even though it was a really good night, everybody was really interactive. I did good at my job, and I was like, it's a really good night, but for some reason I'm just not feeling it whatsoever.
Well, it could have been your social battery too, right? Like, because you got to remember, like, there's introverts, extroverts, extras, all that stuff. So I think I'm a little bit of both. Like, I can be like, yeah, this is really great. But inside, I'm just like, oh, please let it be done. Not because I'm not liking this, but because I'm just mentally drained. So
Yeah.
can't be the only one like that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case. It's also a thing of where like for the 30 years that I played, I'm not a at home drinker or anything like that. Like if I played a gig, I would drink, and then if I didn't play for 3 months, I wouldn't drink till that next gig. But that became a problem when I was playing 4 or 5 nights a week, where then I'm drinking every night. But it became this lubricant for me to be the extrovert and be the entertainer. And so lately, I've been succeeding at doing it completely sober. So it's
Nice.
like where I would have what happened last night wouldn't have happened if I was drinking. I would have had a good time because I was lubricated and having a chill time. But it's a lot hard. It's a lot more exhausting to be sober, especially around a bunch of drunks.
That's exactly where my mind was at, Zach.
Yeah.
I mean, I went sober for a really long time, like a year and a half probably, and it was fine for me until I was just over what was happening outside, you know? I'm like, I love going to play pool. I love karaoke, but it's not fun babysitting, you know, and it
No.
just a different kind of level. It's like, I don't know. Something, I won't say things are more fun drinking because they're not. And then like the next day you feel like crap and there's all that with it. There's like wins and losses on all of it, but it definitely changes your experience a little bit. But if you have to drink to have fun, what are we even doing? Like, that's not good.
Yeah. It's it's a slippery slope for sure. And I've never had a substance addiction. So I don't know what that's like. I don't know what it's like to be a person who struggles with that, because I know a lot of people, and we've had people on here that have had trouble with that. And, so again, it's not like I can go drink. It's fine. It's like I can drink and not drink the next week. Like, it's fine, which I drank like 2 weeks ago, I think. But it's like the mental aspect of like, all right, you got to be that fun dude, not with the fun juice, you know?
You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, I think I've been getting by. I think it's been fine. I think the part that I needed to understand, which I've kind of learned in the last little bit, is that I'm an equal entertainer to everyone else, but I don't feel the same. So it's coping with the feeling of that I'm not nearly as fun, even though I actually am.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing the job for a reason. Like, you're clearly qualified. And there are like those seltzer drinks, like Breeze and whatnot, you know, that have THC or mushrooms in them or something other than alcohol.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, that'd be good to have a psilocybin trip while I'm
Maybe not.
I haven't. I was a really late bloomer with drugs. So in other words, like I was a drug Nazi, really anti everything up until, late 30s. And then I started being like, man, maybe weed's not that big of a deal. And so I kind of fucked around, smoked weed a little here and there, but like I was really sensitive to it at one point where I ended up in the hospital twice for weed. Crazy.
I've never heard.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, really. And now it's like I really like the high. I like to be high, but if I say someone whips out a joint or a blunt or whatever and they're like, "You want some?" I can take like a sip and it might go terrible. It's that I'm that sensitive to it. It's fucking stinks.
You know, I'll admit, when I retired from the military, I was like, I'm going to smoke pot. Like, I'm going to do it. Here I go. I took one puff and it just burned and I couldn't do it. And I was like, wow, like it's not for me. Sounds good. And then my husband's telling me a story about his friend. You know, they smoked pot when they were like 18, 17, 19, I don't know. And he was like tripping from it and he thought he crapped his pants. And that's my worst nightmare. I don't want to run around feeling like I crapped, even if I didn't. Like, this mythical poop situation is not going to work for me. So either way, I was like, it burns my throat and I don't want to feel like I crap my pants. So
no, that's not good. If you ever wanted to try it again, there's other ways to get to it than smoking it. I mean, you can vape it, which is less harsh. You can do edibles, which for people that are on the fence about weed, that's where I would go. I would start with really, really low dose edibles, like a gummy that's super low dose, where you might just feel a little different, and then maybe up your dose by 1 milligram until you get to that point that you feel nice and comfortable. Because I kind of started doing that for a little bit.
Crap your pants mode.
Yeah, don't. I've never experienced the crap your pants. I thought I was having a heart attack twice, but
that's not good either.
No, it's not good. It's not great. I mean, I actually remember thought I was having a heart attack like 100 times, but twice I went to the hospital.
That's terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah, and they kept me overnight once, and then gave me Ativan, which.
So you just away from it now, right?
No, I don't have it at the moment, but like if I get a vape pens are better for me because I can like, it's not as intense to me as like smoking it. So like I can hit a vape pen, see how I feel in 15 minutes and hit it again if I need more. So I can dose myself a little better with that.
That makes sense.
So if I just haven't gotten any in a while, but if I had it, I probably would. I'm more of a like at home at night, watch a movie, eat some shitty food, rub one out, fall asleep, like that kind of shit.
Totally understand.
I'm not the public high guy. People that do that blow my fucking mind because if I'm in public, I am freaking out the entire time.
Yeah, you never know what could happen.
Well, I get to I've had these times where I was really high with people and I said something and they didn't respond and I looked at them like, did I say it or did I think I said it? Where I start to get caught in a loop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, this sucks. Why is my mouth so dry? Where do I put my arms when I'm talking to people? Like just yeah. Just doing jazz hands.
Oh yeah, or you could do jazz hands. You could do you.
So, the important part, the reason I think he put you on is you now run a dating site of type.
Of type, yeah.
Of sort. It's not the same as Bumble or
no
any of those other
dating app, if you think of it that way. Because so I created the app because I hated dating apps so much. I was on like 4 or 5 of them, and I was single for like 5 years. I was like, what the heck is going on? Guys don't approach me. I don't approach guys. And then I really did some internal thinking, like, why don't I approach guys? I want them to approach me, and I want to meet them in the real world, and all this stuff. And I start talking to my guy friends. I'm like, why don't you approach guys, or girls? And a lot of them said, me too, and women think we're creeps and all this stuff. And I was like, well, then we're butting heads. Women want traditional, old school approach, and guys are terrified because of everything going on. And so I was like, there's got to be a happy medium. And it was funny too. It was COVID, and I was like dating this guy that I met on Bumble, and I broke up with him. And he's like, what are you going to do? Go back on Bumble? And I was like, no. I was like, they're using the QR code for everything except dating apps. I'm going to connect the QR code to dating profile, and I'm going to start matching with hot guys everywhere I go, and you're going to miss this. And he was like, you know what you're doing. This will teach you to stay in your lane, whatever. And I was like, okay, now I have to do it. So obviously I was just really stubborn, and I went and put together a prototype, figured it out within like a week, I'd say. And then I showed him, I made this website, connected the QR code. I gave him a little card, and he scanned it, and it went to my dating profile. And he was like, holy crap, like, this is amazing. Let me help you. And I was like, no, we're good. Like, I got this. It went from there because I was just sick of dating apps, honestly. So I struggle with it all the time with, like, how do you categorize our company? How do you talk about something everyone's so familiar with, and you want them to kind of relate that way because they get it, they understand that, but also it's totally different. And it's never happened before, so it's hard for people to kind of understand what exactly we're doing.
Yeah, I looked at it and was a little hard to grasp.
So I'll give you an example. That's kind of like the best way is to help you envision it. So say you walk into your favorite gym, coffee shop, bar, grocery store, right? And you open the app, you click the check-in button where you are because it's a hot spot, and then you can instantly see a list of everyone in the room who's single.
Okay.
And there's a sort your preference button at the top, and you can click that and it'll show you everyone who's looking for what you're looking for, which is really, really cool because, so in particular for the LGBT community, I think it's really important because there aren't a lot of safe places and safe ways to meet in the real world. And while I'm straight, I still find it very important to give something really safe for everybody, women, men,
of course,
especially other communities. So I was really excited about that because I was like, never in history have you been able to walk in somewhere and know who's single, and that's kind of what stops us from saying anything in the first place. We never, like for me, I was thinking, why don't I approach guys? Well, I never know if they're taken. They don't wear their rings out, you know what I mean? Like married guys and women, they just don't wear their rings all the time. So it's just one way to kind of filter through the crowd and see so interested in connecting with people. And yeah, we changed the way that geolocation works with the way that you have to check in once you get somewhere. And that makes it safer. It also makes it so that someone's not going to follow you down the street. Your location stays at that hotspot until the timer runs out or you stop it. So that's kind of, you know, there's the QR to profile aspect where you can like share it in fun different ways. Or there's the hotspot feature, you know, so that, and any like that you get is really cool because on all dating apps, you see all likes. Well, ours will show you who you met in real life versus who found you online. So, you know, my profile comes with a QR code. If I print it on the back of a t-shirt and I wear that to a concert, if 50 girls or guys or whoever scan it, I get 50 real life likes. And then as the person who owns the code, I get to decide who my matches will be because it's a two-way authentication kind of situation. And it's one of those things like too, if you didn't have the app, but you scan someone's shirt, it'll show you a pre-profile. You know, it's like, do you like me? Check yes or no. So it's kind of trying to bring back that old school introduction without making it awkward.
I love it.
Yeah, it's almost like a different introduction. So it's not a dating app. It's a connections platform, but it's for the real world.
Yeah, it sounds brilliant. I mean, it kind of goes back to what we were saying about people hiding behind a screen.
Exactly.
You know, I feel like the same shit happens in a swipe left, swipe right, even though I do that. I still do that. I'll be on Facebook dating and just sit there for a half an hour swiping left and right as if I'm just such a catch that I can choose the fate of it feels ridiculous.
It does.
And I've seen numbers like this kind of goes to some of the stuff I was wanting to talk about where like I've seen some of the numbers where like something like 95% of the top women get interaction, but only 7% of the top men.
And only 1% of actual matches ever meet in real life on a swiping platform. And most people ask them, you know, do you meet people? Do you not? Da, da, da. How does it go? What happens after you match? The majority, you know, that I've interviewed, they've all been like, no, I just kind of do it to see, you know, just for I'm bored.
Yeah.
Communication. And it's like, so with our platform, 100% people are in the same space to have the opportunity to meet if they choose to. So it just cuts the middle.
Yeah.
So would you like to know if you were in a bar or a restaurant or wherever, would you like to know who in the crowd was single right there?
Of course.
Okay. The crowd has.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love it because it does cut out a lot of the guessing game of it all. I mean, instantly in my head, and I'm sure you've thought of all these things, there's like negative sides to it that I think of. Like you said, you solved something if someone's following, but what if, I mean, do you potentially ever run into people like harassing a person that they like and they're not getting reciprocated?
No, because people act really different in the real world than they do online. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's very true.
100% held accountable. You're in a public space. So it changes the way that people behave, which is how it should be. You know, and too, I like to tell people it's a respectful approach because you don't physically walk up to someone to say hello. You can see them across the room and be like, I love the way she laughs with her friends. I'm going to say, ask her if she wants to play pool, you know, without busting into a table of 6 girls and getting the middle finger from all of them.
Yeah.
It's a totally different approach. So yeah, we haven't had any.
Or the goofy cockblock friend that just doesn't want her friends talking to anybody.
She's always ugly.
Always.
Ugly.
She can never get it, and she's always, you know, what an ass.
I mean, if you're gonna act like that, you have an ugly soul. So
that's true. Yeah, I mean, it's just insecurity, clearly, but yeah, we've all had that. We've all felt that experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, my whole mission was to make dating fun and like safe and real again. So I too. So my background in the military was intelligence. You know, I did counterintelligence and cybersecurity, and then I was a victim advocate against sexual assault for 15 years, and I was a single mom too. So I had all these like things, and I was like, boy, men don't approach me because I'm a mom. Like they think there's a man at home. This sucks. You know, how do I make my move without making it weird in front of my kiddo? How do I not give out my phone number? Because I need everyone in the world to stop giving out their phone number. So if they're watching this, that'd be great. Because when you Google someone's phone number, you can get your address. And as a mom, or a single parent, you have kids at home, it's terribly dangerous. You never know what you're going to get. And, I think it took me too doing, cybersecurity to figure that out. It took some intelligence and counterintelligence. Counterintelligence taught me so many things when it came to dating, because I thought, we always had to think about the adversary. How are they thinking? Well, in other situations, it's not an adversary. It's how is the creep thinking? Whoever the creep is, whoever he is, there are always people who will target other people. And they could be women and they could be men, right? So it's not always men, but it's definitely.
Well, let's be honest, mostly.
I mean, the serial killer shows are not wrong. I watch way too many of them. Always white men. And I'm like, why? So I get excited when I see a woman not killing people, but God, it's not another white guy. But anyway, I'm going off the rails on that.
Yeah, that's what we do on the show, so it's fine. Yeah, that's interesting. That is kind of brilliant. I actually love it. It's so frustrating being single, and I feel like, for one thing, when it's online, everything is very transactional, in that it's what can you do for me, not who are you as a person. At least this is the man's perspective, at least my perspective, where it's like, how much money do I have? What do I do? What is this? What is that? And like, then there's this whole other thing of like, you're scrolling through profiles, and to be honest, I could write right now a profile for you that is 98% of women. They say the same shit.
Oh, I know.
It's almost always the same thing. Yet in some of these, they're like, don't just say hi, hello to me, or whatever. Don't just say, hey, what's up? I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, it's this constant conflicting messages coming from females to men right now. And it does go back to Me Too, and it does go back to, you don't want to be a creep and say weird shit. And we all know the guys on the internet that are sending dick pics on the second fucking message, Like it's being a good dude who actually is emotionally intelligent and a good partner. It's very hard, because you even have the side of like, I'm older, so I'm like old fashioned in a sense, not meaning like typical roles or anything, but meaning like, I get that I'm supposed to talk first. I get that I'm supposed to be a gentleman and open the door and do gentlemanly shit. But even that, some girls think is corny and cheesy, and you know what I mean? Like, it's like there's constant mixed messages of like, if you're not sexual, if you're too sexual or not sexual enough, or if you're, I'm at a loss. And I feel like a lot of men feel that way.
I think women do too, in their defense, because, women, we've got all these beauty standards, right? I'm supposed to look like this, but I look like this, and da 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 da. So guys also have some unrealistic expectations sometimes. But I totally agree with you, Zach. I don't know how old you are. I'm 40, and I'm fine to say that. But I know that, like, when you walk into a room full of people, right, you would probably have swiped left on most of them online. But in the real world situation, you might be like, wow, I love their laugh or their smile, like, whatever. One of those, like, physiological sticking points that catches your attention. And that's what chemistry is, like, built on. So
yeah,
while swiping apps were designed to be convenient, they have been convenient for putting people face to face if they ever get face to face. That part is true, but you're getting face to face to see if there's chemistry. But if you flip the script and put the meat before the match, then you're saving yourself like a ton of time, and you're getting more quality,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, beyond just, the way someone laughs, obviously, like I'm attracted to intelligence. I'm attracted to sense of humor. Like, those are things you can't really find out until you're around somebody. And I'm not a very good looking man, but I'm fucking hilarious. So like, I need to sell that too.
100%. That is very important. I dated a guy one time for like a year and a half because he was hilarious. He cracked me up. He wasn't my type. And then I realized I don't need to have a type. Like, what is that? I was like 22 in Miami. So I think I was being very stereotypical, I don't know, of my age kind of situation. But once I dated him, it really changed my mindset. Like, oh, I'm actually more attracted to people who I find funny, So
yeah.
I think really strong point, Zach.
Yeah. It's narrowed it down to being like, I know what I am as a person that I think is super valuable isn't valuable on the internet.
Right.
Or it's less valuable. Because there's a lot of girls that'll say in their profile, make me laugh, and we're good. I'm like, What do I throw you a one-liner? Do I throw you a dad joke? It's not the right place. Like humor is natural and should be organic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you think the perfect woman profile would say?
What should it say?
Yeah. Like a girl that's going to catch your attention. What would her profile say?
Man, I mean, obviously, like things that you might have in common because I like I listen to like metal and emo music, so like it's not a lot of people that so I would connect on little things like that, but more importantly, like and I've there's some that say it like integrity, kindness, empathy, loyalty, like all of these qualities that I feel like have gone to the wayside, where it's about image and pictures for social media and what do you own and what can you get for me and where can we go and like I'm like those things are cool and all, but like even when it came to my music career, I'm like I don't want to wait until I'm at the top and I can win. I want someone to ride with me. I want you to be there for the fucking journey.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for life. Like I'm not a wealthy person. Uh Even if I were, I don't want to buy my way into someone's heart. I don't want that kind of love. I want someone that's just so invested in who I am as a person and vice versa that wherever we go in life together is a fucking beautiful thing.
Absolutely. I don't want to be weird, but I have like 10% battery on my phone.
Okay.
Just giving you a heads up.
So how long you think that gives you? Maybe.
I think like 5 or 6 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it short.
Okay.
Trying to think what else I wanted to get to so we could be really productive with the last 5 or 6 minutes you got. And if you disappear, I know why.
I know.
Well, let's get out of the way right now before it goes off. Get out of the way how people can find the dating site or you or anything you want to promote real quick.
Okay, yeah. So Radar QR is the name of our company. You can download us on the App Store. We're on Google Play as well. Right now, we're in the process of launching hotspots nationwide. We just launched in Houston. We saturated. There's 42 hotspots in that town. Other major cities have 2 to 3, right now, just something until we launch there. So yeah, we're rolling out major launches across the nation right now. And yeah, Radar QR. You can also find our website. A lot of our information's on there too.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So moving forward with, on a bigger scale, like, I don't know, where, so like, I don't know if you're familiar with a guy named Jordan Peterson.
I am not.
He's a Canadian, he's a professor, but also a psychologist and a bunch of other things. Super brilliant guy who's constantly misrepresented as a right wing, as a this, as a that, as a whatever. And I think he's a very brilliant person. But when he talks about, he particularly leans into young men a lot, like how to make their situation better. Like he had books that were really geared for young men becoming good grown men.
I like
And
that.
when he was just on Piers Morgan, and when he talks about it, he'll start fucking bawling. Like he's so invested in it, and it's so sad to him the way that things have gone and the way that people are divided and the difficulty in relationships and the standard family and things like that. And it's like, what are the steps? How do we step out of this thing? Because I feel like there's never been a harder time to find love or find a relationship than any time in our past.
I mean, if you're asking me my opinion, I think it's just treating people like people, meeting us at our base level. Like, remember, Zach, when you're in kindergarten, first grade, and you're like, do you want to be my friend? Like, I think about this probably once a week, when even today I was at the vet with my dog, and the vet, she was super cute and super fun, and she was sweet with my dog. And part of me wanted to be like, do you want to be my friend? Like, it's so hard to do as an adult. It's hard to
It
meet
really is.
at people because we just have this like, oh, I'm supposed to be an adult. I'm supposed to be more mature. I'm supposed to act a certain way because I'm a certain age. And I don't know. It's hard to be real. And if you can empathize with other people, especially men, right? One of our cells our sales leads, VP of sales, he just did a podcast this week on men's health and kind of like mental health and how that relates to everything. And I should connect you to because he's wonderful and he just has such a good insight and perspective on all of that. But it's just, I think having empathy and treating people the way you want to be treated, but also the way they need to be treated. You have to be able to read people, and know when their boundaries are being pushed or they're not comfortable, which is hard to do sometimes. Like everyone doesn't have emotional intelligence for other people because we get so wrapped up in our own stuff. Like it's hard not to be selfish and it's hard to think about someone else's perspective sometimes.
Yeah, and I think you kind of briefly touched on it before, is that people seem to have like a list of qualifications for people to a debilitating degree. Like the last girl that I dated for a while couldn't have been more off my radar when it comes to my list of qualifications, and I couldn't have been more in love with her.
Aww.
So it's like I just think opening your mind to the different people is okay. We can have different views. We can even vote for different people and believe in different things and still have some kind of incredible chemistry that makes none of that matter.
I think it makes it better. It makes it a little spicy.
True. I agree. And who the hell wants to date themselves?
I don't know. I mean,
not me.
Animals that look like them, but you shouldn't date someone exactly like you.
No, it'd be boring as shit. Even though I said, I like someone that likes the same music. I would almost rather date someone that likes different music if they're open to listening, because I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's teach each other. Let's learn together. Let's find shit we like that, you know what I mean? That's out of our comfort zone.
I always say, Zach, it's so funny. I always say, like, I leave relationships with new music. Like,
yeah.
I always find new music. So that's always a good thing.
Well, I've had relationships kill music too, where I can't listen to that shit anymore because it brings me back to that.
Too much Taylor Swift?
No, those like, this is our song. This is our song. And then I listen to it and I'm like, oh, that's a gut punch.
I haven't done the our song thing, I think, in like 15 years. I just forget. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Well, you better step your game up.
I know. My poor husband. I'm really bad at anniversaries too. I'm trying to do better. I have an alarm.
You have an alarm that's like anniversary in 2 days.
I do. I
love it.
I know.
Yeah, I'm not a real dates person either. I just never have been. Not even a holidays person per se.
Be better at birthdays and stuff like that. Like in the military, I lost so much time with my family just being away, and my nieces grew up. They're beautiful women. My nephew's growing up. Everybody is, and I'm trying to like get out of that habit of being away because that was what it always was, and everybody knew that. And now I'm retired, and it's like, okay, I need to go make time for the things that matter and the people that matter. And dates matter. Dates matter, even if it's just calling and saying, "I'm thinking of you today. Have some cake." Something like that.
Yeah, I'm with you on just. I just wish everyone would, single people would just open. Everyone's afraid because they've been hurt, but everyone isn't the person that hurt you. And it's like if you can open yourself up to listen to and take in new people that are different and just explore the possibility. And I think people are also afraid to have to. I've been in this space where I consider somebody, but I didn't want to have to reject them eventually, so I would just avoid it altogether. Where it's like, just be honest. Just say, hey, it's not really working out for me, but we could be friends, or whatever you have to say. Just be straight, be honest, even when it's uncomfortable.
You know what? I've been watching this show, Love on the Spectrum, and everybody's kind of watching it right now. Season 3 just came out, but they are so good at saying what they want. And I was like, holy cow, everybody needs to take a lesson from them because they just are so unapologetically themselves. They're beautiful, beautiful. And I love how blunt they are, just in the sense of like, hey, this isn't really working for me, but I'd love to be friends. I don't feel a connection. I'd love to be friends. Because how many times do we get ghosted, right? Like, we're not enough to figure this out. Like, we need to take a lesson from these guys because they're doing amazing things, and it's so hard to do.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think most of us have a touch of the tism anyway, so we need to just dig into that. Just accept it.
We do. They're like very smart.
just an example of like how things are. So there's a girl that works at the bar that I work at who just started there. She's really cute, really awesome, loves the same music, also lives in kind of depressed space, has a boyfriend I respect. You know, in a different world, I'd be like, let's go out. But I'm not even talking about that. Last night, after us buddying up, talking all night, I was like, hey, if you're ever in that dark space and you just need someone else who's also in that dark space to bounce shit off of, find me on socials. And she like kind of recoiled.
Oh,
And
I think that's really rad of you, though. That's very, very good. People need to do that more for each other.
yeah, but just an example to go back on what you're saying, though, it's like, I'm not trying to get with you. I'm not trying to get on you. I'm trying to say we have a vibe, like a friendship, a possible friendship, that immediately her reaction was like, ugh.
Well, she might not be used to that, right? Like a lot of people have intentions that are hidden
Yeah.
and might be coming at it with the right intent, but everybody doesn't. So she's probably been burned by that. Give her some grace on that. But next time you see her, totally normal, right? Totally cash. You already threw it out there. She needed it. So I think that was great. More people need to do that. I'm going to take a
I agree.
book, Zach.
Say that again.
I'm going to take a lesson out of your book.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
I mean, the thing that I've discovered with this debilitating depression I live with on a daily basis is that the more that I try to use that to help other people, especially in the same spot, the better I feel. So it's kind of selfish in a sense.
That's like the best selfish thing to have.
I think it's a win-win. I think everybody wins there.
Yeah, I think you should make a show about you. I'd watch it. He gets every time he helps somebody. It's like the antidepressant show.
Yeah, I mean, it's the entire motivation for this show. It's the entire motivation for this podcast was that me being out touring and doing music stuff is that I had a bit of a platform and a following. And when I was feeling super dark and everybody thought I was this fun guy on stage, when in reality I was walking off stage, true story, getting in my car and crying myself to my house. Happened repeatedly. And I would just put it out. I'd be like, look, here's how I'm feeling. I'm in a dark place. I feel this way. It's really difficult. And I don't want you to feel that way. So if you ever feel this way, I don't want you to feel alone. And I might not have the answer, but I'll sit with you through this shit. And by doing so, people would reach out and it would give me a little relief. And I'm like, podcast, I need to talk about that and do it on a bigger scale and say, hey, look, I'm here. We're all going through this shit. You're not the only one.
I think you found a purpose, Zach.
I think so. I like it.
I think you're in the right place. I'm really appreciating, having this conversation with you.
Yeah.
It feels like we're connecting. I think we're friends now.
I think we're friends. Yeah.
All right.
I have a couple of ideas I'm going to text you too later. And also connect me with that dude you were talking about.
Yeah.
Either if he wants to come on the show or just even personally, whichever.
I think he would. I think you guys would just have like a great conversation. Why not record it? He just did a podcast, I think I was telling you this week. And I was really proud of him just to see him talking about these things that are so hard for guys to be vulnerable, and he did it so eloquently. And I think you guys would click.
I love it. Well, I know your phone's about to die, so we'll call it a day here, and we'll have you back on in a few months when you get a little time to bust out some of the stuff you're doing, and then you can come back and talk about how that's going and so on. I'd love to see it happen in my area. I'm in a small town in Illinois, so it'll probably be a while before it gets here, but
let me know what town you're in and I can make it happen.
I love it. I will. I'll let you know the closest not so tiny town. There's like 12 people in this town.
Oh yeah. That's kind of where I live now too. I like it that way.
Yeah.
I like big cities. I was in Houston for a month when we did this whole launch. It was a whole month there in Houston. And while there's something beautiful about a big city, there's also something really nice about a small town. So I'm appreciating that too.
I've always said, and I'm kind of in that situation now, although I don't want to be in the Midwest. I'd much rather be in Texas or Florida or somewhere, which I eventually probably will move back. I'm 30 minutes from downtown St. Louis in a tiny town. So I have the best of both worlds. I can hop in the car, go to a blues game, go to a concert, 30 minutes, I'm back home.
Yeah. No, that's the perfect commute.
Yeah, I agree. It's not too long, and I'm not, we're not houses on top of houses and tons of traffic. And I mean, there's like 3 gas stations, a McDonald's, a Subway, couple of bars, tons of churches probably or some shit. But it's
like But don't forget, there's a dollar store and a Walmart.
There's no Walmart here, but there's definitely a Dollar General.
Yeah.
Which they upgraded to the Dollar General Market. Got fancy in the last 2 weeks.
That has a grocery store in it?
I thought it would. It's basically got more frozen shit, but that's about it. I thought it was going to be like a real grocery store, and it's not. It's pretty much the same shit plus a few items.
Gas station.
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, I eat a lot of gas station food, actually.
Well, I can't even talk about food. I don't cook at all. My poor husband. We're going to this place called Spanky's for dinner.
That just sounds good.
No, it doesn't.
It sounds like clown people. They're going to serve their food in clown shoes or something.
I know. We're doing our best, though. I'm doing my best not to cook. So.
Yeah, I can't cook, and I hate cooking. So either, in order to get good at cooking, I would have to cook, and I fucking hate it. So there's zero chance of that happening before I die.
All right. Well, we're in the same boat.
Yeah, and I'm all right with it. I do have an air fryer now. I do have a microwave, and that cooks most of my shit.
I survived on an air fryer for all of my single years. Yeah.
I just started using it like 2 months ago. I had no idea how amazing they are.
It is amazing. If you haven't, I don't know if you like Brussels sprouts, but they're really, really good in the air fryer with like balsamic, glaze and stuff on them.
Okay. I don't know what you just said, but I heard the Brussels sprouts in the air fryer part.
And then you can put like a balsamic glaze on them when you get them out, and they're just like really good.
What am I, Wolfgang Puck?
Maybe. Maybe. I'm doing my best. I don't know. Sounds like you are too.
I am. It's not good enough sometimes, but it's the best I got, and I'm all right with it.
Hey, just keep doing it, right?
It's true.
Get shit done. That's what we do.
We're still fucking here.
We're still fucking here, and that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yep.
What does it mean to you?
What?
What does still fucking here mean to you?
Oh, man. There's a lot of levels of that. I mean, just getting through, to me, it can just mean the day. Like sometimes the war that wages in my head from the time I open my eyes till the time I go to sleep is enough to feel like that statement means everything. But overall, it's like I look back on my life a lot, and I've done a lot of cool things, but I have I've always had a severe case of imposter syndrome. So never felt like I belonged there, I deserved it, or that I was with my peers. It's always been a strange thing, but I look back on all the shit in the different periods of my life, and it's like different lifetimes. It's like I used to play hockey 5 days a week, and I was really good at that. And that's been so long ago. It's like that was a different person, a different lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's just this podcast me is, I guess, the new one, because I was so into music for 30 years. And now I'm like, I always wanted to be a broadcaster, like a sports broadcaster or whatever. And podcast is like on in the background of my life pretty much for the last 15 years, almost at all times. So it's like just made sense.
It just kind of clicked for you. You're like, oh, I could do that too.
Yeah. And I'm very passionate about it. I'm working on starting another one or two. And because I want to get into some more controversial shit. Like this is, I kind of keep this light, and it gets a little crazy sometimes, but never goes that crazy. But I want to get a little deeper, and like, I don't know, like there's a lot of shit that needs to be talked about that there's not enough people talking about it.
That's the point of having your own podcast. You get to kind of navigate which way you go, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm just working on the thing with podcasting. In order for it to be successful, it really has to be very specific, because there's so many out there that if it's not something like if you did something about exercise, no one's going to watch it. But if you do something about kettlebells or something very specific in exercising, then you might get some traction.
Good point.
So I'm trying to figure out how to brand that. Like, how do I brand something where I want to just talk about world issues and shit, where it's a kind of a broad subjects with broad guests without, being kind of narrowing it down to something where it would make it interesting for people.
Ask me in August. I'm just signed up for a Harvard branding class, like a certification. So
badass.
From that.
Yeah, I will definitely be picking your brain. It's this last year and a half of doing this is like very frustrating in a lot of ways when it comes to branding and marketing and social media and everything. I'm like, because I'm not dumb to it. Like I already used it for music, so I'm not unfamiliar with the process or the algorithms or how you use hashtags, etc. But there's a way deeper thing if you want to get outside of your little group of people that already follow you.
I agree. You don't want to. I mean, yes, we want to communicate with our community, right, all the time, but you want to bring in new people so they can also experience what you're serving. I totally get that.
That is the hardest part. And I can't, I butted heads with the guys from SFH a couple of times because they were like, you need to be posting like every day, doing shit every day. And I'm like, look, here's how it works. The 1,000 people that follow me, of those 1,000, maybe 100 of them actually see what we post, or probably less than that. And all I'm going to do by posting every day is beat the shit out of those people. It's like if I wanted to go outside and yell to the world that I had this product, but the only people hearing me were my neighbors. And they're like, shut the fuck up.
Sometimes I feel that way with Radar QR, just because we're in a saturated market, although we don't have competitors because what we're doing is different. Nobody knows who we are, what we are, right? So we're so new. It's such a new concept that we're always finding the same kind of issue that you're explaining right now. It's very challenging.
It is extremely challenging. It seems easy because you think if I go post something, maybe it'll make it out to the world. It doesn't work like that. Uh-oh. And her phone has died right at the hour mark. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Enjoyable episode with Amberlei. We'll have her back on. She can finish those thoughts. And we will see you next week, Tuesday at noon. I'm glad you are still fucking here.